Welcome, welcome. It's another amazing day, amazing evening here. Skunk HTV. As we vibing, and it's always vibe, man, because the energy has to be up. So, it's just a natural vibes all the time. And we're grateful. We're grateful for life. We're grateful for everything. So we're here again on the naked truth, as you know it. And there you go, the episode, Who Are the True Egyptians? And this is the reason why we even getting into this topic is because of the constant, pretending as if they don't know who the true Egyptians are. Even, I mean, these people, claim that they have an understanding of life and an understanding of history. Yet they're in denial, or should I say, they're pretending to be in denial about what the truth is, just because the original man, right? The original man himself is not in power as they were before. The original humans, the originals, are not in power as they were before. So this, set up a platform for other people to come and claim things, saying, they go as far as deep as they could go into the land where the dark melanated people live, saying that they were always there, yet their complexion have never yet changed throughout the centuries they there, right? And the heat, the sun, is affecting them living there. You understand? And we're talking about the people that move back, and some of the people who are there can't even deal with the heat, the extreme heat in that area, right? Now, we have to understand something when the victor, right, decide that they want to change history, right, and give people a different perspective on what, how our society think today, how society thinks today about history. So we're here today on the Naked Truth again, going to a second chapter of giving you some information. This time, we're going to take it to the Bible because it's necessary that we go to the most ancient, right? The most ancient history, right? Or the most ancient text to prove certain things that was said within this book pertaining to the people that live within that time. So, of course, we're going to go through the Bible and we're going to find some scriptures and talk about it here on the Naked Truth. So greetings to everyone in the name of the Most High Creator who created all things. Greetings and welcome everyone again. It's another Friday here, right? And we're here at SKUNKHTV. And this is the Naked Truth. So we're going to get into some concrete, as you would call it, concrete evidence, just to kind of, put some light on the situation. Because, as I said, and the reason why we talked about this last week, who are the true Egyptians, the reason why we even touched this topic, if you listen to me talking about the Bible and certain things, you understand the people that lived then within the ancient world, who they are. So we're just kind of elaborating more extensively on, kind of more putting everything under microscopic, where people can understand what it is that happens in history and who the people are. Because miseducation, I mean, people have learned, a lot of us have been indoctrinated with different things, and we're led to believe certain things, which is not true at all. So this is a problem. It's a problem when we sit here and we absorb all the nonsense that our foreparents before us laid down without questioning anything, the validity of whatever they're saying. We just go along with it because, hey, we're respectful. We want to honor our ancestors, our elders. So we basically put the questioning aside, even though it sounds a certain way to us. We just like, okay, whatever. So today's topic, right? Who are the true Egyptians? And that's what we're going to be clearing up here on the Naked Truth. Here it's a Friday, and do remember, you can share the stream on your social media platform, and do leave your comments if there's questions or you feel dissatisfied with whatever you hear. You have whatever rights. It's in your God-given will to object or to leave, whatever you want to leave based on what you know. Of course, we can always talk about things because, as I said, we're dealing with the truth, right? So if you feel what you have is the truth and you feel like you want to talk or call in, the number is 718-676-0853. You can call that number if you choose to do so, and we can definitely talk about it. We never back down from anything, definitely. So I'm sure we all did our studies and our researches, and we definitely did ours. So you can always call in or to discuss it in the comments, wherever you want to discuss it, and I will respond to you if you feel a certain way about it, right? So I have so many notes and things that I've put aside, right? But we're talking about the place that you know today in modern times as Egypt, the ancient world that exist then, and remnants, right, of this place that exists today. So this is what we're going to talk about. We're trying to, because as I told you, there was a documentary, right? Netflix put out a documentary, movie type, whatever thing, on Cleopatra, right? And it becomes a huge debate, among right and left, right? So you have people who objectify the whole idea that Cleopatra is actually the person that played the role, right, which is a melanated woman. And they have a problem with it. So there's a lawyer in Egypt who reside in Egypt now, right? And he claims that he's suing Netflix to close down the streaming platform for whatever reason, because it's historically incorrect, and the people that they used to play this role in the documentary couldn't be far from the truth. So we're here to poke some hole into this argument, right? Or this debate, this whatever they're trying to create, to bring certain light for people to understand. So this is why we're saying, who are the true Egyptians? This is the topic of the day today. So we're here and we're going to go through the book to prove this. So we're going to, last week we kind of go, just, take some historical steps and try to figure things out. Today, we're going to go into the Bible and we're going to figure out, they're very simple. We don't need overwhelming evidence to prove this, right? We don't need that. We basically need simple things. We're not going to come with there are a lot of people out there, right, who is well-rounded in academia, and they can articulate things using all kinds of word because their vocabulary is right. We're not trying to compete with others in their field of study, what they know, how they express themselves, right, and how witted they are when they learn whatever they learn and able to express. Fine, that is you. We're doing what we do with whatever resources we have. So however less or great amount of resource we have, this is what we're going to use. And now we're going to use what we know to express ourselves, right? In establishing the truth. That's what we're doing here. So, and I want to make sure I bring up Bible verses. So you guys can even go back for yourselves and read. I have a lot of Bible verses, which some of them is not here, but we're going to get into it, where you guys can go back and read and for yourselves and try to get a clearer picture of what's going on. So there is a problem when the population of the world, not the population, but the ruling power, look a certain way. When race becomes something of a topic that people has to talk about and discuss. Now, prior to the early centuries, this wasn't a problem. Nobody had a problem with another person's pigmentation, or even label them as, well, okay, you're this and we're this, and this division. It wasn't that before. So this was constructed somewhere, right, where it becomes white and it becomes black. Now, and that's the problem, right? It becomes white, it becomes black, and a person that is white create the concept of it. This is not the black person who said, well, this is white. Because you have to understand, and we're going to get deep into this, right? The person of white appearance, or who claim white appearance, often, try to belittle the persons of dark complexion. This is the whole thing. This is what created the idea of racism, right? And this is where it started out, where people begin to hate each other because of where they're from. No, we can say racism can be something else, right? One who care for their race and they love their race and they talk proudly about their race. Fine, you can do that. But we're not dealing with bias, right? We're not trying to be biased. And we're not trying to harm other people because of the way they look. Now, this is where the whiter group decided that they want to harm the darker group of people because they felt threatened by them, right? It's not just you conquered them and they use them to build their civilization and whatever, extract whatever they needed from them. On top of that, they abused them. They did all manner of evil to them. So let's just get that. And it's in history. So this is not nothing new that you guys don't know about. So you have the construct of racism, right? And how people today, and now it's divided among people. Now we have to understand in Europe, right? There are different tribes in Europe. As in Africa is a continent. So you have a lot of different groups of people. We're different, not the same, share the same melanin, right? But we're different. When it comes to tribe, we're distinctly different, right? We may look similar. We may share the same melanin, look have the same shade skin, but we're different. Just like in Europe, the Irish, the English, the French, the German, all of them may look, right, have a certain look, but they are different. So they're not the same people. Otherwise, it wouldn't be French, it wouldn't be German, Russian, but all of them have the same what? Pigmentation, right? They tend to do this to Africa by saying everybody is just, we're one. We're not the same people. We're different groups of people, right? Now, if we go back to, as I spoke about last week, Shem, and Japheth was Noah, 3 sons. And now we know there's nowhere in history, nowhere at all in history or in modern times that we have ever witnessed a woman of European descent producing a child that is melanated. It's impossible unless the father is black and melanated, but 2 white people, I must say, 2 white couple cannot produce this. Right? So it would be impossible to say that the people, original people before, were white. Then you'd have to explain how did black people come by? And then you'd have to explain in details the melanin that they possess that protects them from the sun, which they don't want to teach these things in school, right? Because they don't want to give you the idea to think too much, because they started a lie and the lie spiral out of control. Now they have to tell more lies to cover up the lies, right? And the more they go and the more lies they're going to tell, and the more they're going to tell you, oh, we have a new finding. As soon as you start to learn about it and start to understand this lie and start to figure out, well, they lied, then they're going to come with new evidence, saying they found new evidence. And believe me, they have their trolls, they have their puppets, that they send out to do their dirty work, right? Oh, somebody new is going to come and say, oh, we have a new founding that this is what things are today. You know, just like a while back, they had this study, right? It was a documentary I was watching, and there was a study on they call this guy Cheddarman, right? Cheddarman, now it's a European person, right? And whatever they did, you know, his complexion, computer animation, however they did it, didn't look real at all. Like, you know, a person could actually look like that. But they try to say they have DNA evidence from bone, and they construct the idea of whatever this is, and they put face to it and color as well. And so they're showing a European person with stringy hair, green eyes, and dark skin, right? Straight nose, all the traits that European have, this person have, except the skin is dark. So they claim that they were actually black people who went up into Europe. But see, they don't want to give credit to their roots, where the roots is coming from. They try to cut this off. And this is why you have Darwinism. Darwin was the one with racist science who tried to prove that the African is lesser than everybody else. And that's what they did. So all the elites and the rich and whoever had access to this information believe, you know, in this Darwin theory, right? Or not even, it wasn't a theory. It was a lie that becomes truth somehow, right? And they believe that evolution and all of these other nonsense that he came up with was true. And so the idea to separate the races, or to separate the two groups of people, because it's obvious we both look different, right? It's obvious. I mean, you don't need a rocket science to tell you how, when they came into the West, they couldn't believe what they saw when they went into Africa. Like, how could these Negroes, the people that we look down upon and kicked out of our country, are capable of building these things? They were uninformed about history. So they tried to go into Egypt, and they tried to connect themselves with Egypt, because this was something that was transparent. It's right there in front of your face. The pyramids cannot be hidden. So gradually, they went into the what they call Middle East today, into East Africa. And this is what they did. They colonized the area. And they went in and they go as far as Egypt and colonized the important area they did. Pay attention very, very carefully, right? Morocco, right? Now, you heard about the Moors, right? And the Moors went into Spain, conquered Spain for 800 years, right? You've read about that history, right? Who are the Moors, right? Right? And pay attention very keenly here. They went into Morocco and they took Morocco over, right? There are certain historical places that they went and they replaced the people. Because now when you start your lie and start telling lie and start claiming history, when you have no history, because if they did have history, they wouldn't be claiming someone else's history, right? Saying that they were the one responsible for these things. It's a shame. And people who do this supposed to hold your head down in shame, claiming what someone did when you didn't actually do it. Do you understand me? But because the people are the melanated people, they're not in power. They're not up here. You understand me? Like you would have China up here and America up here. America can't talk to China the way they want to, because China have military power, right? They have weaponry, right? So America can't just, oh, well, you can't do this. China could do whatever they want, right? And other countries that have the same military capabilities can stand up for themselves. You can't just talk to them anyhow. But the people that don't have that will be abused. So look at the black countries. They don't have the military might. They don't have what you call nuclear weapons and weapons of mass destruction. They don't have these things. So you understand, they're still underneath colonial rule to this very day. It seems to the common people like these, you know, politicians, right, have control of certain places and countries, but they don't. The resources that's coming out of Africa is not coming through the government or the people that actually native to the land. They're outsiders who own these things. How did they get it? Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Just like South Africa, we can get into this. It's going to get very political, as they call it, because that's what they use to kind of, coin the term. It will be political. We talk about South Africa, during apartheid, and we talk about these other things that happened during the time, and how these people have the audacity to claim that they bought land from these people, with what paper? You're talking about two different groups of people. You don't know my language. I don't know your language. What treaty can you tell me to sign? How do I understand when you're the one who present the treaty to me? And I don't understand your language. You don't understand mine. How could I write a treaty to you in my language? Does it make sense? Doesn't. How could I sign a document saying that I'm signing away my rights to you when there is no document to prove, but yet they claim they have documents to show, right? So they're going to go into their lab or their, what you call the Photoshop, and fabricate documents to say that yes, these are the papers that we signed when we were buying the land in South Africa. They didn't buy any land. They went there, they colonized the place, and they took it. Just like the other places, just like Egypt, they went there and they go in there and they took it. It's the same thing. What do you think is going to happen in the latter days? What is going to happen in the latter days, right? Because the very people that was up here in first place, they're going to get back up where they were in the first place. They're going to go back right where they were before. So the cycle is going around. As I expressed last week, life, it's like this clock, right? And there's the numbers, right? There's symbols and numbers there, right? And as the clock ticks, right? Second, minute, hour, right? Days, week, months, years, right? Centuries. You understand me? This clock is going to be ticking. So 9 o'clock, where everything started, 9 o'clock, everything was there. And all that happened, all the development, whatever happened during that period and that time, 9 o'clock. Right? 9 o'clock. Clock is going to tick, and as slow as it takes, another 1,000, another 100 years, it's going to go right. But when it reaches to 9, you have to understand that the very things that happened at that time is going to happen again. Right? So it's going to come right back to what it was before. So this is temporary. Right? What you see is happening today, and the rulership in the world and the subjugation of the melanated people. These people are not going to allow this to go on and on and on for eternity. You have to understand, there's a day when they're going to be fed up. There's a day when these people are going to realize that, wait, this is not working. And they're going to realize who these people are and how they got in the first place and how they allow them to come among them. You understand? And what they did to them after they allowed them to come in. This is going to happen again, whether you like it or not. So the rulership of the European, they should enjoy their moment in the spotlight and shine. Now, if we read the Bible tells us, right? Jerusalem shall be trampled down by the Gentiles until the fulfillment of the Gentiles, right? So we know that the Gentiles is going to have a time to reign. And after that and such time, their reign will cease, right? Now, we understand that the Israelites are scattered still. They're not in their homes. They're poor. They're struggling. They're facing persecution, racial profiling, all kinds of different things. They're facing it to this very day because there is a curse upon them. Yeah. Greetings to everyone. I'm here reading something on screen. So greetings. And I am good and feeling great today, and I hope all you guys are, feeling good out there. So greetings, good evening, and brothers, sisters, everybody that's tuning in, welcome. So we're gonna break everything down because I want you guys to kind of get a clearer understanding of anything, and if there's any questions about what I'm saying, you guys can ask them as you have the opportunity to do so. So there are a lot, but we don't want to go off track. Let's get into the into the root of this, right? We're talking about Egypt. Who are the true Egyptians? And let's go biblical first to get an understanding of who they are, because this is how we're going to know. So we don't need overwhelming amount of evidence to prove who the people are, and not the people that come later on and live there mean that they are those people. So not because 100 years pass and we live in this area, you know what I'm saying, mean you are the original people that came from there. And with the audacity to try to claim this history, it doesn't make sense to me, right? And I'm sure a lot of people who are educated know about this, but a lot of people don't want to say anything. They're afraid to speak up. You understand? But we're not afraid to speak up here. The only thing they could do is try to do it. Block the video or do whatever they want. And guess what? That's not going to stop us. We're still going to talk in the street. And the more we talk, this news is going to get around, whether by social media or word of mouth, right? It's going to get out. So whatever they do, we don't care. We don't need the spotlight for our people to understand what's going on, and they're going to learn it because the truth is going to come out. You cannot seal or conceal the truth forever. Do you understand? So, who are the true Egyptians? Now, let's go to Exodus, right? And we're going to talk about Moses, and I'm going to paraphrase some. We're going to go to the Bible as well, right? So, let's talk about Egypt. So Joseph went into Egypt and he became the governor. He was actually, they were trying to sell him. He fell into a hole or something, and then, you know, somehow he ended up in Egypt, right? And that's where we were, right? In Egypt. Now, that's how the Israelite got into Egypt. They didn't go to Egypt as slaves. You understand? They didn't go there as slaves, but they got into Egypt, right? And the Moses, right? During the time in that period, and let me just try to skip through this. During the period there, the Pharaoh that gave Joseph the position, he died, right? And there was a new Pharaoh now who didn't like the idea. And this Pharaoh probably was in the background a long time, hating on these people, seeing them populate, and said, no. These people look like, they're becoming too much among us. Maybe we need to get rid of them. But the fear of before probably didn't find any problem with these people. They didn't seem threatening at all. So, but anyways, this new Pharaoh came in and decided, oh, you know what? When I take power, I'm going to get rid of them. So he said, you know what? Kill all the firstborn to slow down the birth rate, right? Kill all the boys, right? All the male Hebrew Israelite babies should be killed by. So they ordered the maid servants, right, to kill them. Right? But they didn't. They hid them. Instead of killing them, they hid them. So when Moses was born, Moses' mother put him on in a like a basket, like put him on the water, and Pharaoh, right, daughter, right, saw him, the baby, and took the baby, and the baby, they raised the baby as if the baby was hers. Even Pharaoh himself thought it was the daughter's child. Right? So this child had to look like Pharaoh, it had to look like the daughter. They had to have that similar resemblance. Same trait, everything about them had to be the same for that child to fit in, that it was that Moses become Pharaoh's grandson, right? Just think about that. Moses became Pharaoh's grandson, right? So this kingdom must have been very vast and big that the Pharaoh had no time to really understand whether or not his daughter, the princess, was pregnant and give birth to a child. Probably didn't know whether it was an adoption. He probably was concerned with other things, other business, dealing with the country, dealing with the society, or whatever it was, right? He didn't have time, but later on found out that he had a grandson and treated him well. So he had a position in Egypt. Now, because of they begin to populate too much, this was a problem for that Pharaoh. He wanted to get rid of them, right? So he began to oppress them, right? Put taskmaster over them, tell them, oh, listen, you have to do this, and we're going to take away certain liberty, certain things that you usually do before. We're going to take it away and make it, your job becomes difficult. And this is what they did. They tried to force them to do things and oppress them. And this is when the people begin to cry out. because they didn't do anything, right? So now their cry went up. The Most High heard their cry and decided to send Moses. Now Moses was in Egypt. Moses killed one of the Egyptians because they were abusing one of the Israelite brothers. He killed them and then he ran away. And then he was afraid to come back when the Most High tell him, listen, now you have to go back and get the people. And I'm just speeding up through this, right? So Moses went into Egypt, right? Most High sent back Moses into Egypt to redeem the Israelites, right? Tell Pharaoh to release my people, let my people go. Pharaoh didn't want to do this. The Most High hardened Pharaoh's heart to exercise his power to deliver his people out of Egypt, to show them that he cared, he loved for them. Moses went there with 3 miracles, right? And one miracle was the most important miracle out of all the 3 miracles, right? And of course, we're going to find that in the Bible, because I want to make sure that I read this for you guys so you can get, a clear understanding of it. Yeah, they accept him as their own child. Yeah. So Moses, right, went with 3 miracles, and the 3 miracles that he went with was he turned the staff into snake, right? And then not only that, he turned the water into blood, right? It was blood, right? Turned the water into blood. But when the Most High told him, said, there's 3 miracles, but there's one most important. Once you do this one, they are going to follow you right away. Once they see this out of the 3, right, that he performed, Pharaoh said, this is no proof that God wants his people. What are you talking about? My magicians could do the same thing, or whoever my wizards, or whoever they were. See, look, you turn the water blood. Look, they do it. They can turn the staff into snake as well. These were, so they did. They were competing. But there was one thing that they couldn't do that Moses did, right? And Moses put his hand in his bosom, right, and took it out, and it became white as leper, right? And then he put it back, and it came as his as a flesh. How did that happen? What took place? What complexion was Moses for this to be so profound on him that the Israelites would have looked and followed? What complexion would he be for us to put his hand in his bosom? Now, you can watch the 10 Commandments, Charleston, Hester, whoever his name is, and all the 10 Commandment movie. This particular miracle is not in any of them, because the characters that play them are white. So they can't do that. They only show the wine, they show the staff into snake, and that's it. They never show this, right? Never, right? And let me see. Let me pull this up for a second, because I want you guys to, you understand, to get, I want it to be clear so you guys, so you can understand what's going on when you read the Bible, and why today in modern times certain things cannot happen, because if it's people, the original people can do it. If a black person should do the 10 Commandments, this miracle will be in the movie, because the most important, how come it's not there? And this is the the miracle that, the Israelites realize that they need to follow Moses, but it's not there. You understand? So we have to figure out what's going on, right? And this is how we're going to get the truth out, right? So before we even go, because I want to really kind of read, because I want you to understand the importance of it, right? Right. So let's go to Exodus. We don't want to rush anything, right? Let's go to Exodus 4. All right. Because I really want you guys to have a clearer understanding when we're talking about who the people are of the book, right? And so when you know this, you'll understand, okay, so now we know. It's not your fault. And this is the problem with people with this low inferiority complex, and they believe that they can change history when it's impossible to do that. You cannot wipe it away because you just doesn't fit in it. You know, it's not about you. Okay. Now I'm gonna read. So we're at Exodus 4, and let me see. I'm gonna give you exactly. Okay, so let's start from. Okay, let's start from 4. Let's read from 4, right? Just to get some context, right? Let's read from Exodus 4 just to get the context that we need, right? So, and Moses, right? Exodus 4, verse 1, right? And Moses answered and said, but behold, they will not believe me, nor hearken unto me my voice, for they will say, the Lord had not appeared unto thee. They will say that, well, God didn't appear unto you, we don't believe it. Basically, they would believe him that God actually spoke to him, right? Okay. And the Lord said unto him, what is that in thine hand? And he said, a rod. And he cast it on the ground. And he cast it on the ground. He cast it on the ground, and it became a serpent. And Moses fled before it, right? So the Most High was showing him what's going to happen when he actually go there. And the Lord said unto Moses, put forth thine hand and take it by the tail, right? Take up the serpent by the tail. And he put forth his hand and caught it, and it became a rod in his hand. So it became back to a rod again, right? That they may believe that the Lord God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, right? The God of Isaac and the God of Jacob had appeared unto thee. And the Lord said, furthermore unto him, put now thy hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. And he said, put thy hand, right, in thy bosom again. And he put his hand into his bosom again and plucked it out of his bosom. And behold, it was turned again as his other flesh. So we're talking about, you understand? And this is why we're going to break down the idea of the leprosy at some point, right? So this is what we're understanding, right? Moses, who was Moses, that Moses put his hand in his bosom. And this is why, as I said before, the 10 Commandments, the movies about 10 Commandments, you have never seen that miracle. Why haven't you seen these miracles in the movie? And this was the most important. And I want to find where it is. And I want to give you, because I want to make sure that. Now, let's go down further because I want you guys to get it, right? Now, we're going further down to chapter 9, right? And it shall come to pass, if they will not believe, also these 2 signs, neither hearken unto thy voice, that thou shalt take of the water, and the water which thou takest out of the river shall become blood and dry land. And Moses said unto the Lord, O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither herefore, nor am I slow of speech, of a slow tongue. And the Lord said unto him, who had made man's mouth, right? Or who maketh the dumb or the deaf, or seeing or the blind? Have not I the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be with thy mouth. I don't know why that. And teach thee what thou shalt say. And he said, O my Lord, send, I pray thee, by the hand of him whom thou wilt send. Again Moses said, it's not Aaron. That's why I was saying that Aaron would be better. I know that he can speak well, right? And also, behold, he cometh. So Aaron was approaching forth to meet thee, and when he seeth thee, he will be glad to hear thy voice. And thou shalt speak unto him. So he was telling him. So I want to give you the part where he said, where is it? I want to give you, okay. And thou shalt take this rod in thy hand, and wherewith thou shalt do signs. And Moses sent and remembered Junior, and thou thy fathers in the law, and said unto him, let me go, I pray thee, and return unto me my brethren which are in Egypt, and said, wherewith they are yet Jericho. I want to find this here. And the Lord said unto Moses, and those written in Egypt, and I say unto them, let my sons, and he may serve me. And Moses will Aaron, and where is it? So I gotta find it, because I want to make sure that I give you a clear understanding of it. But anyway, as I said, Moses put his hand in his bosom, and that was the main miracle. So if the other two miracles failed, this was the miracle that they would follow him, because they would see, that he did such a great miracle. Something that they actually feared was the leprosy, and it was used against them as a form of punishment, right? The leprosy was used against Israel as a form of punishment. So yeah, it would have been frightening for them to see that Moses would have had the ability to change his hand into white and then put it back, and it became black, right? So that was the problem, right? That was the problem, and basically, I ought to read through the whole thing. I don't want to go through everything, but Moses, we have to ask a question based on the context of the scripture, right? And not only the scriptures, but the fact that even within modern times, right, the ruling power cannot produce the very thing that the scripture is saying, right? They did everything else when it comes to the miracle, right? So we're talking about there's 3 miracles, but yet they can only perform 2 of those miracles, right? So the Most High knew what was going to happen in the latter days. And then the argument that will be raised around these things, that people with common sense would have understood that the leprosy would stand out on someone that it would be more profound than them, not someone that it doesn't show. It looks similar to their complexion. No, we know what the leprosy is, right? Now, the leprosy is not what they tell you, but we're going to get into the leprosy as well. So before we even get to that, right? So for Moses, right? For Moses to put his hand in his bosom and take it out, and it becomes leprous, right? White as leprous, right? What color was Moses, right? And when we can identify the color of Moses, then we can identify the color of the Egyptians, right? Because the Egyptians, remember, Moses grew up in Egypt, right? And he was mistaken for an Egyptian as well. Do you understand what I'm saying? He was mistaken for that as well. These people are blended. You understand me? The sons of Shem blended with the sons of Ham. So therefore, you will see the resemblance in them. Just like if we go to Africa, there are people that look similar like me. There are people that look like one of you guys out there when you go there. You can go to Africa and actually hide there among your people, are the people that look like you. It's like a white person can leave from France and go to Russia to hide if he's hiding from someone. When the Messiah went into Egypt during the time of Herod, when Herod seeked his life, they went into Egypt the same way. They went there to hide. You understand me? They went there to hide because all of them were melanated people. So So they would have blended with each other. You wouldn't know who they are. It would be difficult to find them. If someone is black and go in the black neighborhood to hide, how are you going to find them? If someone is white going to the black neighborhood, they would stand out, right? It's obvious that they would. So Moses is a prime example of who the Israelites are. Evidence. Whether you want to call it overwhelming or concrete evidence. Moses. Right? Explain the identity. This passage here where you have read, where he put his hand in his bosom and took it out and he was leprous. Well, of course, they're going to change everything to make it view things differently, right? Because they're trying to claim history. And if you're trying to steal history away from the original people that actually lived it, experienced it, and wrote it, then what you have to do, everything they lay down, you have to counteract. And this is what they're trying to do. So they're trying to counteract what is written here in the book. Now, if we go to Genesis and read about the leprosy, right? Then we go to what is leprosy? Let's go to it, right? Because they changed the name, right? And now it's not leprosy in modern time. And what they explain to be leprosy is something completely different from what they explain leprosy. So I'm going to read the definition of it, right? Okay. Right. I'm going to read the definition of leprosy and I'm going to read the definition. So let's see. I want to read from the Bible because the Bible is going to align these things for you guys to see. Right. And what they show leprosy to be, that's not what it is. Okay, leprosy has been around for long. Here it shows blah, 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 blah. Recorded cases was found in the Egyptian papyrus documents from 15 BC. So definite name. Let's see. Leprosy. Sometimes leprosy can be major peripheral nerve damage and muscle weakness. Nope. This is what they're trying to say leprosy is, right? Muscle damage, nerve, none of that. All of that is a lie. Weakness, damage to the skin, blindness, nose, disfiguration, lies, paralyzed and crippling of hands, lies, feet along with other possible symptoms as well as long exposure. Leprosy is believed to be spread through threatening in droplets from cough and all of these. So they're trying to say that it's contagious. Lies. So you can go look up leprosy, right? There are 15 ways you may know about leprosy. And what they're showing is a bunch of lies. Disfiguration. I just read a little bit for you guys because I want you to see something, right? Now we're going to go to vitiligo, what they call the skin condition, right? Vitiligo, right? So let's go there because I want you guys to know what's happening here and the lies that's been told. Right? This lies that's been told, right? So I want you. We're gonna go to let's see here. Let's see here. So let's go to vitiligo, right? And so I'm going to show you the conflicting lies that they've been telling, right? Okay. So now let's look at vitiligo. Vitiligo is a chronic, long-lasting, right? So autoimmune disorder, right? These luxury name that they're giving to this autoimmune disorder that causes patches of the skin to lose pigment or color, right? This happens when melanocytes, right, skin cells that makes pigment are attacked and destroyed, causing the skin to turn, right, a milky white color. This is what they're saying. And if you look it up, you're going to see who they shows and who they will show in most of the pictures, right? It's people with darker skin. It's more, right? It would stand out more on those people, right? Right. So let's go here. Where is it? I just want you guys to have an understanding about what's taking place. So vitiligo, that's the name that they changed and called leprosy, the changing of the skin, right? This is what they changed it to be. So people who have the skin condition, you know, you can tell. So they changed the whole the myth. It's a vitiligo myth, right? You can catch vitiligo, or you can certainly can pass it on by touching someone. So, but this wasn't the case, right? Vitiligo causes cancer. Yes, you're gonna get cancer because once you lose the melanin from your skin, then you're prone to get skin cancer because the melanin is what protects you from the sun. So melanin is very important that all living beings in the planet should have that. And people without it mean that they have lost it because their generation before them, our ancestors before them, have done something, right, to gain this leprosy. So you would never see white people today, right, if this wasn't the case. And people that have, it happens with groups, different groups of people, right? But it's profound and the darker group of people because it's going to show more on them. And we have seen the cycle of this happen. And the Bible tells you that the Bible explains to you in Genesis. When this happens, right? If you have the spots, just like how they say the spots on the skin, I just read it for you, right? It creates spots on your skin. When there are spots on your skin, the Bible said that you are unclean. But when it's fully covered, that means there's a transformation. There's something happens that's going to complete. The cycle started with patches, and then it's going to complete, right? So let's go to Genesis, right? And try to get more into that because I want you to see that as well, right? So we're going to get into that. So we're going to go to Genesis in a minute, right? So you understand the discoloration in the skin and what they changed and said, what they explained that, the leprosy is nothing compared to what, but I'm going to read it for you guys and you're going to compare for yourself to get an understanding why they would change this, why they would change and give it a different meaning and trying to call it something else when it's not, right? Right. So we're going to get this because we want you guys to understand it. You know, I want you guys to get it. So it's gonna be something else, right? Okay, let's see here. I want you to guys to get a full understanding of what the leprosy is. And let me find it for you. And we're not talking about there are other people who actually got the disease, but you know. So we're gonna go to Gen. There's a lot of people who got the same disease, but Moses was explaining what it was. right? And he was breaking it down. Let me find it for you. I want to find it for you so you can read it yourself later on, and see what you get from it, right? It's very important when we know about what's taking place, when we know about the truth, we know about what's happening in and around our community, right? And in the world today. If you lose track of yourself, then you lose track of everything. I mean, how could you continue if you don't know your history? How are you gonna know where you're going, right? How are you gonna know where you're going? You have to know where you're coming from in order to know where you're going in the future, right? So it's very important to understand this. So the leprosy is something that they try to conceal, right? They're trying to hide this, that people wouldn't figure it out. You wouldn't figure it out, right? Even you read it, you wouldn't figure it out, right? You would be looking and trying to understand yourself, but really, what's really happening here, right? What is going on? What is truly happening? Right? Let me find this. I want to find this here. So I want you guys to actually pay attention to the details in certain things and question the things that you see, because nothing is what they seems, right? Especially today in this modern time. I know they manipulated people to believe a certain thing, right? And a lot of people go along with the narrative. A lot of people, they're not aware of what's taking place, so they go along with the narrative, right? But we're looking for evidence that will prove a certain things, right? That's what we're looking for. Evidence that will prove a certain things. Right? So that's what we're looking for. Let me put here. I want you guys to know about, and this is not about Miriam. Miriam got the leprosy as well. Let's see. So I want you guys to go to your Bible, and I want you to put some time and effort into it. I'm searching something here in a second, but I want you guys, to kind of go to your Bible, because I mean, there's Miriam, there's Uzziah, Naaman. I mean, there's so many different places where the leprosy has been, talked about, right? And Miriam was Moses' sister. They went against Moses because Moses chose to be with another woman beside an Israelite woman, and they didn't like it. They were very, verbal about that. So the Most High was angry, and this is how Moses. This is how Moses. This is how Miriam got her leprosy, and then when she got it, she was kicked out of the camp where the Israelites were. She were kicked out. She was rejected, and this happened throughout the land in on the continent, right? Where a lot of times you'd find what they call mulatto, which are actually white people. Once a black person, and we're talking about pigmentation, the idea and the construct of color, or labeling a person color based on their race, it has to do with their complexion. It has to do with pigmentation. So if when we say white, we're talking about that's exactly what it is, right? So you can't recruit other people that look like you or say they don't when they look. Or so if we're going to say pigmentation, you do look like this person. The Russian, the German, and all of them look the same. The Jewish person, all of them look the same. They share the same traits, right? They don't have melanin. So they are the same people. Different tribes, right? But same. They have the same stock, right? So, you have to understand that when we're talking about the leprosy. All right. So this is why we have to learn, who we are as a people, where we stand in this place here, right? And we have to figure it out. I want to try to pull it up here instead of, but it's not allowing me to do so. This thing. So I have to go back here. Anyways. So there are multiple places in the Bible, multiple places in the Bible where the leprosy is expressed. Right? Multiple places. So thank you for your understanding, everyone. I'm trying to find if I could read it off, but maybe I can't pull it up there. So let me get it here. I have some stuff on there, but somehow. Anyways. So it's Leviticus 14:13. Let's see. Leviticus 13:14, right? Okay, so 13:14. Okay. So I'm going to read, right? Because, and let me pull this back up because I want to compare what they're talking about. So vitiligo, and let me read that for you first, is a chronic, long-lasting autoimmune disorder, right? That causes patches of the skin to lose its pigment or color. This happens when melanocytes, right, which are skin cells that makes pigment, are attacked and destroyed and cause the skin to turn a milky white color. Now, there's different definition up there, right? And they even have places where they say, what is it caused by? So, okay, let's hear what they're saying here now. So what causes vitiligo? Vitiligo is an autoimmune disease, right? This type of disease develops when your immune system attacks parts of your own body, right? If you have vitiligo, your immune system attacks cells in your body called melanocytes, right? So, they have different definition. I said, as you go up there, you'll find a deeper definition of what it is, right? Well, because your skin to lose color or pigmentation, smooth, white or light areas called, right, musculus or patches appear on your skin, right? So we understand the overview, we understand everything about it. So let's hear what the priest says, what the leprosy is, right? So go to Leviticus 13. Let's go to, let's see. Let's go to 3. Let's go to verse 3. So Leviticus 13, verse 3. Right? And the priest, okay, let me start from 2. Okay, when a man shall have in the skin of his hand flesh arising a scab or a bright spot. Do you understand that? A bright spot. Same thing they're saying here about what the vitiligo is, right? Loses a pigment color. This happens when where is it? Attack the skin and it becomes milky white. So there's a bright spot, right? Which is the color, right? There's a bright spot. So Leviticus 13:2. When a man shall have in the skin of his flesh arising a scab or a bright spot, and it be in the skin of the flesh, like the plague of leprosy. So it's a plague, right? Right? Then he shall be brought unto Aaron, the priest. Right? And the reason why during that time they had to go to the priest, because there's no physician within that time could heal the leprosy. Neither there is no physician in this time that can heal it. So even though they might telling you are articulating many ways that, well, it is caused by, but if you know the root cause of something, how can you not stop it? See, they don't know why or how it's caused, right? You can't stop it. When you understand something, it means that you know how to deal with the problems of it, but they don't know, right? Anyways. The priest, they shall go to the priest, unto the priest, one of his son, the priest, to Aaron, right? And the priest shall look on the plague, right, in the skin of the flesh, and when the hair, right, the hair in the skin of the flesh, sorry, I'm jumping so far down. Okay, and when the hair in the skin of the flesh, and when the hair in the skin of the flesh is white, right? The plague is the sight deeper. The plague inside be deeper than the skin of his flesh. It is the plague of leprosy, and the priest shall look on it, on him, and pronounce him unclean. Okay. Now the bright spot be white in the skin of his flesh, and in the sight be not deeper than the skin on the hair, therefore be not turned white, then the priest shall shut up him that had the plague 7 days. So basically the priest would have known what to do during that time and would have isolated the person for 7 days. And the priest shall look on him and say, the priest shall lock on him the 7th day, and behold, if the plague is in sight, be at this. If the plague in sight, I don't know why I'm skipping it. The plague inside at, where is it? I don't know what's on my page here. I try to pull it up on the computer. If the plague in sight be at the stay, meaning that it's still there, and the plague spread not in the skin, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days more. So therefore, there's a process that the priest would have put the Israelite through during the time when this is what they call vitiligo happens, right? So they're calling it vitiligo here, changing the concept of what it is, saying it's not leprosy. But then, where is it? Right? They're calling it vitiligo here. And then they're changing the whole concept of what leprosy is and giving you a whole different definition. Said leprosy is something else that caused your skin to the weakness in your leg, you're losing limbs, all kind of crazy stuff. That has nothing to do with what the Bible just explained. When you have a rising in the skin and the hair, right, the very hair within the skin becomes white. This is the plague of leprosy. That's what it is. So this is not what they're trying to tell you here, right? But when they said vitiligo, they're explaining to you what vitiligo is, right? So see, sure, they twist the name and give the name something else has no relevance to even what the Bible is saying. Everything the Bible is saying aligns with what they're telling you that vitiligo is. So vitiligo is a chronic, they're calling it chronic, whatever, long-lasting because this is not something that goes away unless the priests have a hand in it, right? There's no physician in the ancient world could have gotten rid of it. Only the priests or prophets of the Most High would have been able to get rid of the leprosy. So this is what they're calling skin condition, vitiligo, and it happens when melanocytes, right, skin cells that make pigment, so-called them have idea of what makes pigment, according to them, are attacked and destroyed, causing the skin to turn milky white, right? The hair in the skin becomes white and the skin becomes white. That is what the leprosy is. It's a transformation that a black melanated person would go through. Not only melanated people have this issue with pigment, because it has to do with whatever melanin or percentage of melanin inside of you. If you get it, it begins to discolorate, right? Change from your regular complexion to a lighter complexion, right? So it would give you that type of context. So we're talking about the melanin, right? And who it would be profound on. But if a person that is white has it, it's nothing. It doesn't show on them, right? But it shows on who. Just like I have this black jacket on, and if there's a white spot, it can be picked out from a distance, right? You'll be able to see if a black spot, if the whole thing is white, right, is black, and then there's just this white spot pop. You could see, you could tell that, okay, it would show more than anything else. Do you understand what I'm saying? It wasn't purple, it wasn't yellow, it wasn't anything else. It was the very complexion that we might assume and say that this complexion is kind of pink. And the colors that you learn when you're in preschool and all of these things, you say this is pink. The names that men give to these things, saying that's what the colors are. And we understand that's what it is. So we would say it kind of pinkish, like that's the complexion. It's not actually white as they claim. We know what white is according to the context of color within the English language, right? And the definition, right? So if we're saying white, these are the names and labels that they give to these things. But it's expressed using the term white because it's a shade lighter than what is dark. So it's called white, right? Not in the context of what we learn white is today, right? You understand what I'm saying to you? But because something was of a dark complexion and then it shifts lighter, then it becomes white. We say this is what the ancient people would say, that the person is whiter. When David was born, David was ruddy. Why was he? Why they call him ruddy? Because ruddy has something to do with red, according to the Hebrew language, right? We're talking about ruddy, so it has to do with red, right? And so it's a melanated person, right, with a brownish color complexion, brownish reddish color complexion. That's what he had. So David would have, it would have drawn attraction if you're living among people, right? Dark, black skinned people every day, and then one person come a little bit light. Everybody curious. Wow, he looked different. He doesn't look, we are living in this heat, extreme heat, but he came out a little bit lighter. Still, he's there with them. But David was Solomon's father, right? Right? David was Solomon's father, and Solomon said, I am black, but comely. But we daughters of Jerusalem, right? So we understand now. So not because me, as a person, you're looking at me, look ruddy. And this is what ruddy would have looked like, something like me. A reddish complexion, brownish, reddish like. Right? A brown, reddish complexion. Not burgundy like this. This is not showing it. Just to give you some context. It's a brownish type of reddish type of thing, right? You would have gotten that complexion from that. So you understand, people would have, it would have been, something of what you'd say attractive, right? Because it wasn't normal that people would have come out like that. Within that time, the extreme heat and the people that live within the area all dark, rich in melanin. Right? So that would be something that stands out. If a person would come, just like a mulatto, if a mulatto was born there, he would have stand out and people would have seen him. This is something that they would have worried the people that are dark, because this is not something that they used to. They have never lived among people that look like that. So it would have been strange to them to see it. Even in the early centuries, I say centuries, in the early 50s, 60s, when they went into Africa and they went into a certain village, black people were running from them. They were hiding from them. They were free because they never seen. There was amazed to see people look like that, because that never happened within their village before. They have never encountered people like that. So it was very strange to see someone looking higher in complexion than they were. No, because the complexion has changed and diminished, the melanin diminished from the skin, leaving the skin white, right? This is what melanin is, what give, right? Our darkness, brownness that you see, that's what we get it from. I'm not talking about tanning, because the sun, people misunderstand. The sun will burn anything. If you put something out like a red shirt in the sun for a while, it's going to discolor it. That's what the sun does. It burns anything. So if a white person go in the sun and are unable to bear the sun, it's going to change their complexion, right? So it would burn their skin and it would look what they call tan. That's not melanin, right? It's not melanin. But if they take themselves away from the sun and go somewhere cool, you're going to see that come right back to what they were. Still don't have melanin, because it's a biological trait, right? It's a part of who you are as a person. You lost it because of whatever, we don't know, right? They claim, right, that this people lose it because it's some kind of disorder and there's a conflict with the skin cell, melanocytes, whatever they want to say it is. And this is how, it deteriorates and your skin change, right? This is what causes what you call, and they call this vitiligo. So I'm trying to explain to you why the name changed, right? And how bold they are to change the name and saying that leprosy is a whole different entity from what vitiligo is, right? And vitiligo is explaining to you the very skin condition that change a person into what? You can look it up on your the thing, right? And the Bible is saying when the hair within this person is white, they have the plague of leprosy, when the skin change and turn to that complexion. And the Bible express that there are spots. And when these spots are on you, it means that you are unclean during the process of you going through this stage. So when you see some people, we have seen them, you guys have seen them around in your community, one or two of them at times, where the skin begin to discolorate in different and shades, start to like it get bleached out, spots on them. In that stage, they're unclean. Now, when they change this and tell you about, and let me pull it up. Let me pull it up. I don't want to just go on without pulling it up for you guys. Right, I want to pull it up. Because I want to make sure that when I'm reading this to you guys, that you kind of get it, the deep meaning of what it is. Right? Okay. There is it. Who would have changed what the leprosy is, right? Okay, so I don't want to go too deep into it, right? So I've read some of the things. You can search it for yourself. Long exposure leprosy is believed to be spread through breathing and droplets. This is a lie. This is a lie. I've known people with the leprosy. No droplets. This is a whole entire disease that they're talking about. Has nothing to do with the biblical leprosy, because you know why they had to change this? Because the people, right? The black people, right? That went through this change and become white, wouldn't want to acknowledge that it was because of leprosy why these group of people exist. This is why they had to change it, right? They had to change the name. They had to control history and twist things around to make it seems like that the people that you see today that has no melanin, that are white, that they were never here in the beginning, right? They were never there when the Most High created man. It wasn't people like these people that you're seeing today that are ruling today, and it seems like they were always here. They were never here before. It was all melanated people that were created by the Most High, and it was supposed to be and intended to be melanated people that live within this ecosystem, right? The sun that gives light. All the creatures that exist within this physical planes, right? All of them has melanin. The cat, the dog, the rat, I mean, you name it, the mosquito, the ant, I mean, just name it. The fish, every one of them has melanin because they have to share energy from this one element, right? This element, the hottest element within our solar system that gives light, right? Where we get energy from. You understand? Where the plants get energy from. All of them, even the plant itself, has melanin. But they call it a different name, chlorophyll. It's the same thing, it's melanin. All of these things has melanin. In different animals, it show differently. Their protection in our skin, human being, right? In our pigmentation, it makes our skin dark. So when they teach you about blackness, are saying that, oh, it's everything negative, and the reason why we were labeled this name, and it wasn't intentional in the beginning. We're going to talk about that next week, but they associate everything negative within the English dialect. Black, anything black is negative, right? It's negative. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So you have people of lighter complexion saying, oh, they can't be black. But in fact, blackness is the original. And here's the standard of look and beauty within this physical world. Whoever is shifting this are the other groups of people that came afterwards that doesn't look like the original people. And they have control of the history and they're trying to change it. Right? They are trying to change this history. So leprosy, also known as Hansen disease. This is the name that they're giving it. See, you have to understand, right? So Hansen disease, right? So leprosy, also known as Hansen disease, right? This is another name. They keep coming up with names so that it will be distracting. You won't know if you don't know to figure out what's going on, right? So leprosy, also known as Hansen disease, it's a chronic, right, infectious disease. It's here they say it's infectious. It means that you can catch this from someone if you're close to them. I'm telling you, I know people who had this, right? And people who live with them who had it. This is not something that is transmitted. So all of this is a lie, right? The leprosy is the very thing that they're calling vitiligo, right? That's what the leprosy is. It transforms a black melanated person to become white. That's what the leprosy is. This is why, remember Naaman, right? He had the leprosy, right? And he went to get cured. Now, he had signs of the leprosy. He had spots on him, and he went to Elijah, right? He went to Elijah to get cured, and Elijah cured him, tell him what to do to get cured, and he offered money, and Elijah said no. But there was a servant with Elijah's servant, Eliezer, that's his name. He went ahead behind Elijah's back and ran down the carriage, took the money from Naaman. So when he went back to Elijah said, what have you done? You're not supposed to charge anyone for this, you charge. And then, so Elijah said, listen, the same leprosy was bestowed upon him and his generation. Say, you are going to bear the leprosy. And his wife and children, his generation, all of them become leprous. So when that happened, what happened to them? It means that the area that they lived in, this extreme hot area that they lived in at that time, right? What would they do to survive? They had to leave to go find where? The safe haven. The safe haven that everybody knew that people of that complexion would have migrated to. That's where they went, right? And this is where they multiply and become what they are today. Mixed in with the East Indian people, because that's the route you have to take. You have to go through India. You have to pass through there to go up into Europe, right? To Georgia, Russia, and these places we call about the Caucasus Mountain, the Caspian. You have to go through there, right? And this is where they had to, this journey there in the cooler climate. They couldn't survive within this heat. They couldn't. Why they're complaining about global warming today is the same thing. They cannot survive within the heat. So they're saying global warming is contributed by pollution. That is false. You understand me? That is false. They have to worry about these things. the climate change and all of these things. The people that they call Africans, so-called, these people don't care about that. They never worry about the climate change. Because their body will adapt to the heat as they go along. They will adapt to this. The lizards, the ants, all of them will adapt to it because they have melanin that can increase and decrease. Right? So even if they live in another area where the sun is not extremely hot, their melanin will be stable. Right? It would be stabilized the same way. They don't lose melanin because they hundreds of years they live here in the America. They try to say this because of you ever hear them tell you this? Oh, well, in Europe, and they try to justify this idea for people to believe this nonsense. The Africans, they have wider nose. That's a lie. Right? So they could breathe in the heat more and all of these other nonsense that they would talk, right? They keep forgetting that the African and the continent, there are many different groups of people. There are people with wide nose. There are people with high, low, small, all kinds of nose that you see, and any other group outside exists on the continent. Do you understand me? So when they do this narrow-minded, thing to keep you in a certain box, it's not right. They're trying to deceive you from figuring out who these people are. Who are these new people that came about in the 1400s and they just start pillaging and doing all these things? Where were they before? And why were they so interested and conquering and changing and doing all of these things? Yes, climate is changing, and this is why they say that it is because of certain geographical, location wherever you live. Black people went into Europe and become white. No, that don't happen. It doesn't happen. You don't lose your melanin because you're in another environment. Right? You can't lose your melanin, right? The sun resonates with the melanated people. So not because we look brown skin, or we what you would call ruddy, or a higher, lighter complexion. There are people within there are people within the continent who has brown melanated people with melanin. Because they're brown doesn't mean that they don't have melanin. They have melanin and they could produce dark-skinned people, just like Esau. We're talking about Esau. Esau, right, was ruddy, right? He was hairy all over, but he has produced, right, ruddy children and darker children as well. Go into East India for yourself and go look. You'll find some real dark-skinned Indian people, and you find the majority of them lighter, right? Because they're ruddy. They has melanin, right? They don't need the same thing like people in Europe and other places need. They don't need those things. They could resonate with the sun the same as the black person can resonate with the sun. Do you understand me? So Esau remained the same today as they were before, producing. Once you have melanin, you can give it, right? You can lose it, you can give it. Two persons without melanin cannot give. How? It's impossible. This is why two Asian person, two European person, two Spanish person, they cannot produce nothing more than themselves. Right? Is the original person can replicate everything. Right? They could produce children that looks like every other faces. Right? They have the ability to do that. Not everyone could do this. So they will use these ideas. Oh, well, the white people went in, but they can't just tell the truth about, well, this is what happened. Our ancestors messed up. They did something. And because of their actions, now we look like this. I am my father. I am my ancestors, right? Their blood flows within my vein, right? I am who they are. I am a part of them. The linkage is there, right? Whether in a physical way or a spiritual way, but the linkage is there. I am my ancestors, right? You are your ancestors. Whatever your ancestors did wrong, if Eliezer took money and and Elijah said, well, you and your generation after you shall, right? You shall be the representation of the leprosy. What were they talking about? That it was going to have, let's get to it here, right? Right? the representation of the leprosy. So it would be uh, 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 um, so the leprosy would be what they call Hansen. The disease would affect the skin, peripheral nerve. So you'd have lose shaky. It break it down, basically break down everything, your muscular thing, right? And the surface of the upper respiratory, the breathing, right? Everything would fall out of place. Track and the eyes. You understand me? And leprosy, is known to occur at all ages, ranging from early childhood and up. So we're talking about the weakness in the eyes, the foot, losing limbs, right? This has never mentioned in the Bible about leprosy. Never tell you about anybody losing the limbs, but they lied telling us that this is what it is. That you lose limbs, and when you're children, when you're kids, we were thinking this, so the leprosy is something, because they paint these pictures because they know their origin, right? They know where they came from. They know it's because of the leprosy why they exist. They're not original, right? So they came out of that, right? This is the birth of the European race and the people without melanin. All of them without melanin. We don't have to use white to describe, right? Because that's a color, right? And they labeled themselves as this, right? So I'm talking about everybody out there without melanin. And I've known Hispanic, I've known Arabs, I've known these people who without melanin, right? They're not original people. They're off the original, but they are not the original, because you have to bear the trait to claim that right to say that, well, we're original because we maintain, right, who we are from that time to this time. There's melanated people, even though they said, it's certain climate that causes the change within a person, pigmentation. Wrong, lies. None of that is true. And if this was the case, since it's an evolutionary stage that we're going through, right, then it would be impossible for anybody that live within a cooler region, like say within America, to produce a black child that exceeds them in melanin, right? So a father lighter skin producing a child extra dark. So there's no black people in America. If they're trying to use this term, say, well, it's watered down, and if you're in the cooler area, you're gonna lose your melanin, right? And becomes white. But have any black person in America for over 400 years becomes white? No, that's a lie. The only time they becomes white and adapt. I'm talking about just becoming white. We're talking about your hair itself, certain traits that is programmed within your DNA, right? These pre-programmed information that the Most High put within them. How are you going to inherit these? Who will you inherit them from, right? So if a black person have the leprosy and become white, how would he get curly hair or stringy hair, or what do you call that, right? How would he get this? He had to mix, right? He had to go to mix with someone, or someone else had to mix with him to give this trait. This trait exists because they went and mixed with other groups of people that have this quality here, and this is what happened. When we talk about recessive genes, we're talking about the eye color changing. This is why they have these different color eyes, right? Now, you have seen it in Africa, black person with blue eyes, right, with gray eyes, because you can lose the melanin or lose the melanin in your eyes. We can lose it in our skin, in our eyes, because melanin is there. So you're able to see black people, what they call so-called black, on the continent with blue eyes, just like a European person. How is that possible? You will ask yourself. Because they have recessive genes. And this is why you're able to find that. I'm saying all of this for you to understand, right, that the original people that live within the time and the ancient world and build these great civilizations, all of them were melanated people. You understand me? Now, they may not be the same group of people. They tend to cluster black people in one thing. We're not the same people. We're different. And all of us are responsible for different things that we do throughout the different dispensation in time. We didn't do the same thing. We didn't have the interest in technology as other groups had interest in technology. But all of them, we share melanin because we live on the continent. We share the same melanin in order for us to survive in this extreme heat. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like you're putting a young white child, baby, say a young baby, right? In the middle of the hottest place on earth, right? The center of the earth, the equator, right? The hottest place, you're putting him there to survive. Without protection, the Most High wasn't a fool. You think that, I mean, think about it. The Most High didn't do that. So when you talk about this Adam and this Eve, so-called, right, we're talking about melanated people. The birth of mankind, all of them came from melanated people. We're talking about when you see somebody change from darkness to white, something happened. They diminished. They lost their melanin. This is why they became that complexion, right? Now, I used this analogy before when I spoke about, you know, I don't know if you guys seen or witnessed this. I've witnessed it many times. There's like, you know, roaches. You know, in the hood, in the poor community, you have a lot of teenage. You call them teenage roaches, right? They live in your house. Hundreds of them breed or they populate. At some point, you see a white one single white roach, and you say, it's a white roach. Everybody's supposed to see this. Why? Because the roach have melanin, so it could change to another complexion. When it lost the melanin, whatever color it is, it changed to another color. This is why they tell you about the white lion and the white rhino. Whenever he lost the melanin, or whenever they lost it, they changed to another. And it's very rare within the animal kingdom, you'll see it. So they say, oh, the white rhino died out. They didn't die because they're weaker than the darker rhino, which has melanin. So they're not going to last. And if a black rhino don't mate with that white one, then guess what? It's over. So just think about this for a second. If these two white rhinos come together, what do you think their offspring is going to be like? It won't be black. They will be white. And that population will continue if they continue preserving that. If they isolate themselves. This is why you find white people in Europe. They had to isolate themselves in order to populate. You can't populate among the people that that look at you differently and think that you're a curse or you're a disease or something bad that's going to affect them. They didn't want to live around them, these people. You understand? They didn't want to be around these people. So because of isolation, they were able to populate. Now you see this one single white roach. How many white roaches have you seen running through your house? Because that one white roach, eventually, if it's not mate, whether it's a male or female, who knows, right? But if it didn't mate or didn't get a chance to mate with another white roach to continue the population, you'd have seen a lot of white roaches around, right? But if you took that one white roach that is a male, isolate it, find another white roach, tell me what's going to happen. They're going to produce other white roaches like themselves. This is what happened when the black person lost his melanin through leprosy, right? He becomes white. At a period of time, he loses everything. Whole entire body becomes white. And then he had to leave because the sun is too great in the era where he lived. So he had to leave into the cooler region to survive the sun. Even in Africa today, right? You have the albinos, which are white. They call them albinos. They find all kind of name to kind of shift their understand. But these people that look similar to you, with the same pigmentation, they are considered the same name that you use for yourself, white. They are white as well. So you want to call them albinos if there's a distinct difference between you and them. No. Because you want you people to figure out this is the origin of these people. This is where they came from. That's their origin. Their origin is the albinos and the leprous people. This is how they come from. Of course, a lot of people think, oh my God, this is so... It's so disrespectful. You know, you're putting down these people because of this. That's not the point. It's not your fault why you were born this way, is it? Right? But there's a way to cure yourself. But the more you deny it and the more you're trying to claim as if this is what the standard is for you, you won't be cured. You'll remain the same and you'll have to be worrying, right? When the heat is turned up, you'll have to be worrying how to survive. How are we going to survive if it get more hotter than this? What's going to happen to our children? They're not becoming blacker, right? So when they put people in this category, well, black and black is no good. Black is truly, truly important for every human beings, everybody that living on the planet to have this. You have to have this complexion in order to survive within the ecosystem. How can you survive in an ecosystem if you don't have melanin? It's not putting down anyone. is people within them own self need to recognize who they are. You need to recognize this. And that's why we're here and we talk about Egypt. So when you understand all of this metamorphosis, right? When you understand it, then you learn and know that the original people are dark-skinned people. So the Egyptians that you've read about in books and how they try to bring the history to a modern space, these people been around for thousands and thousands of years, build their civilization for thousands of years. They didn't just come about. They've been around for all this time. They've been around doing what they're doing. Do you understand what I'm saying? They built these things, but because they cannot give credit to the very people that you ridicule and say they have low IQ and they're 3/5 of a human being, right? Because you cannot give credit to them, they'll find any other means to say, well, before it was the slaves and the slave, by the way. We're not talking about the Salvics, right? Which that's where the names, the slave, the word slavery came from, right? These people who used to take them into slavery and do all kind of thing to them, right? We're not talking about that. The word slave today in this time, right, associate with black people, right? So I'm talking about from the early 1900s up, right? The word slave is associated with black. They think black people was always slaves. This is how they think it. This is why they go all the way back to Ham, saying that Ham saw his father nakedness, and because of this, they became black. So wait a minute. The Most High gave the cursed people opportunity to live and survive within the hottest element, within the ecosystem, and the people that are righteous don't get it. Doesn't make no sense, right? Now you see where they lie and have people believing all kinds of nonsense. Right? So we're talking about the melanin and the people that lost this. So slave, because slave, the word slave is associated with us. During the early 50s, 40s, they claim, right, that, oh, when they went into the pyramids and they saw the hieroglyphs written on the drawings and carvings, they saw it. They knew it was black people, so they say, oh, the slaves built the pyramid. This was the talk for a long time until they realized, wait. If we say slave built this and we're trying to denounce these people from contributing anything in this world, then we need to change the concept. So, well, idea. Guess what? We have a new finding that the pyramid wasn't actually built by the slave. The same liars that they used to convey their lies comes out and said, well, you know, the people that build it, they're not actually the people. We have some new finding. We find some new scrolls. We find new information. Whoever these new information, they cannot show it to you, right? But they found something, and this caused them to rethink what they said before, to keep the lie going, right? And then they said, well, we can't give the pyramid, said it's the Chinese build it, because there's nobody on the wall look like them. They have a distinct look. So no, we can't say white people build it because, well, there's not much people on the wall and the hieroglyphs who look like them either, right? So, you know what? Let's say aliens come down and build it. We can't give it to them, knowing the truth that these are the people who built the pyramids. But they decided to lie and say, well, we can't give it to them the credit. Right? Why would they give it? Right? We have to teach our own history. You cannot expect these people to tell you that you are greater than them and how great you are. So they'll never tell you that. The ruling power, how the ruling power is going to look to say, well, you know, we submit and admit that this is, they would look good, right, in the light of their own people, to say that, well, but they've lied, so they have to keep lying. And even they know it's a lie, and even they know when you come with the truth, and they will block your videos and do all kind of things because they're trying for the other people not to figure out what's going on. So they'll continue, right, to lie and perpetuate this nonsense. We know this. The pyramids were built by the very people. The same people that you call Africans today, they build the pyramids. And the reason why you cannot figure out the mystery about these things, because the people are not in power anymore. Their ideas have been stifled by colonization. And still today, under colonial rulership, and this everlasting intervention into what these people are trying to do, change the concept of their thinking to westernize their mindset, They're thinking that everything they do must be aligned with the Western. This is political, the politics and the nonsense that they're learning and bringing back there. It's not working for them. So you won't see any pyramid erected, obelisks erected, or statues erected like that until when the very people, right, rise to power again. Then you'll see all their creative ideas and expression comes out. So I'm sorry to tell the people that are living, the occupiers, the people that occupy Egypt in this present moment time, you are not Egyptians. You are not. And I'm talking about the people associated with building the pyramid. Your ancestors did not build it. And I'm not saying as a black person that our ancestors contribute building it either, because we're different groups of people, right? We don't know if my my fourth parents' great ancestors are relatives to any of these people, right? They're groups of people. So we talk about the Sudanese, who are people who lived within that area who were pushed out before these new groups of people from the Ottoman Turk and English and Germany came in. And we're talking about Morocco, the same thing as the French, you understand me, moves in and push these people in, and they took over the area and call themselves after the people that were living there. What about the native people that is there? They never show you that they're actually people, Egyptians that live in Egypt, black people still there. They never show you that, the face of the country. Look at Brazil, right? 8 million black people live in Brazil, right? And you never knew that black people actually there, because the face of the country is what? Looks like European people the same way. You get my point? So the pyramids were built, and Cleopatra, Nefertiti, all of those queens that you've read about, they are in fact African melanated people. So all of the effort for change the image, sculpt new statues to show straight nose and claiming that black people don't have straight nose, I guarantee you, I can take my video camera and I can go to many houses here. And when you do this, they're going to tell you that, they will tell you that, they're going to tell you, right, that, because we mixed, so this is why they have certain traits. No, this has nothing to do with anything. Do you understand? They will tell you that there's black people in Africa with straight, high nose. Dark skin melanated people. This has nothing to do with, but they say, oh, well, black people can't live in the cold. Black people been in the cold. We can survive anywhere on the planet. The original people can survive anywhere. You don't need white skin to survive. White people live within certain area because they were escaping from the heat. This is why they isolate themselves in a certain area, right? Not because they think that they could survive. They isolate themselves and they survive there. The black man, the melanated man, can live anywhere and survive the same. He's not going to change because he lives in Antarctica or the North Pole. His complexion will still remain. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? The original man can live everywhere. And see, now they in Antarctica, now they're finding monuments, the pyramids, because people were living there before. The same melanated person went out everywhere on the planet. They're the presidents of the planet. Long ago, before these people came about, or the population rise to what the number that it is today, these people have been traveling everywhere. In the Americas, all the Caribbean islands that you heard about, Europe, everywhere. These people went everywhere. They didn't stay just in the continent, on the continent of Africa. They went everywhere. So I'm sorry to say this for the occupiers that live in the land from the Middle East right back down. You understand me? Know your history. Learn your history and know your history. Know where you stand as a people before you come out and spew nonsense. You don't know what you're talking about. The audacity that this lawyer talked that he's going to sue Netflix because, historically, they're wrong to put a melanated woman to play Cleopatra. Maybe Netflix have millions of dollars and they have people that they would pay to do research to find out the facts about who is historically true to play that part. This is why they did it. But these people, they're absent of the truth. They don't know what's going on. So they live comfortable within this area. Generation. This is how it happens. It happens 2 generation and it's over. It's finished. Just 2 generation, it's finished. Right? And I'm gonna explain to you when I said 2 generation of people and it's everything changed, right? If you leave from here to China, right, and your language is English, and you live there for a little while, you might pick up 1 or 2 words, right? And if you have a child in China, right, what do you think that child is going to do? He's going to speak Chinese. He might have few things from you, but what you know about your language. But the communication within that country would be Chinese. So he would have to learn Chinese. He would be speaking that without even effortlessly without going to school, right? Because he were born in that era, so he will adapt to that language, right? First generation, right? Now, when that child becomes an adult and have a son and daughter, this child become completely Chinese, speaking completely fluently. There is no if, no, but. You cannot question whether or not this person isn't Chinese based on the language, right? This is what happened in the Middle East, where you call Middle East today, or East Africa, go right back down to Egypt. They learned the language from the people that are indigenous. They went there, first generation, lived among them, learned when they didn't know how to communicate with these people. Their children learn the language, first generation. I'm not even counting them. Second generation, you don't need to teach them anymore. They fully understood what the culture was. Now, they could push these people out. Get rid of them now. We don't need them anymore. The same thing they did in Spain. The same thing they did in Spain. They got together to get rid of the African people that were living there. Kick them out. It wasn't white people they kicked out of that land, that area. It wasn't white people. You understand what I'm saying? They kicked out what they call Arabs today, and the people them that claim the idea that they're Arabs, which are the same European-looking people who live within the area, the same people who set up breeding camps within the area trying to change the demographic. Listen, we know what's happening here. A lot of you people don't know, are unaware of it. But this is what happened. This is what took place. I'm saying this is why we're talking about who are the true Egyptians today. And besides, they're not even Egyptians, because the word Egyptians, we forget going into the etymology of things, but just for this explanation, we're using this, right? They are black. What you call black. They are the people responsible for building the pyramids. Everywhere you go in the Americas, to China, to the Antarctica, to the North Pole, everywhere you go there, you're going to find pyramids. These people went everywhere and they brought their technology with them, and they build and they live in small communities and populate areas. War, whatever happened, some died out, some migrated, some leave after a while, abandoning place. Over generation and generation, this is happening. So I showed you in the Bible what leprosy is. You can read it on the internet, what leprosy is. Read about vitiligo, and it's going to explain a similar meaning to what leprosy in the Bible is saying. The same thing. It's no difference. A person lost their melanin. They call it pigmentation. We know we're dealing with the skin. It's the same thing. You lost your melanin out of your skin, and that's it. You become another person. You transform into somebody else, a black person. This is more profound on the darker person. He could lose completely everything. The whole entire melanin just completely disappear. There is no physician, as I said, in the ancient world to the modern world that can heal this. This is why they will tell you, well, they'll give you, Michael Jackson had it. Not only him, there are many other people. I mean, just look out when you think. I don't even have my thing to show you now. I want you guys to look. Just pay attention, right, to it. You're gonna see for yourself. You'll see people like that in your community. Believe me. Right? You're going to see people looking like that in your community. You understand? Let me see if I could. Let's see if I could do this for a second here. I want to open this for you guys can see it. You probably see a lot of people around in your community and they have this discoloration in their skin. And I'm sure you guys seen it. I've seen this. I don't have the pictures in here to show you, but if you pull it up, Vitaligo, you'll see the people that has it, right? You'll see it for yourself. And you would know what I'm talking about. This is leprosy, my people. Leprosy, right? And as I said, black people alone is not the only one that have it, but you have to understand how profound it would be on them, how stand out they will be differently because their skin, in contrast, is dark. So if something white shows up, it more popped out than anybody else. So, it wasn't that they say, well, why Moses put his hand in his bosom and show the people? Moses showed the people his hand because of what? What he saw. Yeah. Right? So, my people, with that, I hope you get a good, clear understanding of what I said. I've read it all to you. You've got it. And I hope I didn't leave anything out. So ATO will be coming up next. I hope you guys can stay tuned for that. You understand me? And we'll definitely, I hope I bring some light to this, right? So you guys can understand. So if you have melanin, it means that the people before was dark skin. If Moses did it, it means that he was dark skin. So we now have to go through a lot of overwhelming amount of evidence to prove that. It's basic, right? So I want you guys to take care until next time and stay tuned. ATO is coming up and we are going to have more discussion on this. We want to talk about race next week and politics and other things here on the Naked Truth. So I hope you guys stay tuned for that until next time. And please share the stream. We'll start. The DJ them is here now, so we're going to start off and stay tuned for ATO for all the entertainment that you're looking for on this amazing weekend. And I hope you guys enjoy yourself. And till we see each other again next Friday here on the Naked Truth. I'm waiting for you guys, man, to leave your comments and questions and whatever you have to ask, just ask it. We'll get it going. Right? So until next time, my people will talk.